Sq'ewqéyl Sq'ewqéyl Sléisi casta Tselxát Sq'ewqéyl Sq'ewqéyl casta Sq'ewqéyl casta Halq'emeylem. I'm happy to be here and to see you all. My traditional name is Sléisi and Tselxát. I'm from Sq'ewqéyl First Nation, Chehalis, and Musqueam. For our languages, we have 3 dialects. We have the Halq'emeylem dialect from this territory. We have the Halq'eméylem from the Musqueam. In their language, they say Halq'eméylem territory. And from Vancouver Island, we have the Halq'eméylem dialect. And there's quite a few differences in the languages. Mostly, we use L's here. Whereas in the other dialects, they will use N's. Sometimes I think because the number of speakers have decreased so rapidly, the knowledge and the understanding and the questions aren't as easily answered when learners or students have questions. Like, for example, if you take into consideration in Canada, we had 59 languages, and now today documented by the Canadian government, we have 3 fluent languages, the Cree language, the Sioux, and the Inuit language. Halq'eméylem isn't one of them. Since 2007, Halq'eméylem has been documented by the government as endangered. And today we have one active speaker. So some speakers might not be, they might be elderly, and whether through their residential school experience. I know my grandmother experienced abuse, and so she didn't speak the language when she came home, or taught my mom the language as a way to protect my mom from when she went to school. So, you know, a lot of our language learning comes through investigation and reading, and that can be a little bit of a painful experience, having to study your language from a book instead of your elders. We come from an oral culture that's really dependent on relationship with your family and the elders. If you learn something, it's considered a gift. I traveled throughout the Chilliwack School District here, and I would ask the kids, have you heard any Halq'eméylem before? And a lot of times the kids and the teachers would say no, they haven't heard of Halq'eméylem, even our own Stalo kids. I'd list out some words. I'd say, have you heard of Sq'ewqéyl before? Have you heard of Sléisi? Have you heard of Sq'ewqéyl? And they would say, no, I haven't heard of those words. And I'd tell them, well, Sq'ewqéyl is the name of this territory. It was the name of our people here in this territory. And when the settlers first came, they couldn't say Sq'ewqéyl, so they said Chilliwack, and the kids would say, what? Well, Sléisi, in our language, it means white fang. It describes the fang of a wolf. And so that's why our elders named that mountain behind Mount Chiam Sléisi, because it's shaped like a fang, an inverted fang. I always found it interesting when the new school came out. They said, we have a school with a Halq'eméylem name in this territory. And that was the Sq'ewqéyl school. It means to climb a mountain or climb a hill. And actually, we have a few schools that have Halq'eméylem names. We have Chilliwack Middle School, Chilliwack High School, which would be Sq'ewqéyl. Mount Sléisi, in our language we say Sléisi. And interesting enough, when I shared that at the middle school there, the kids and the teachers are like, well, their animal there that they use and that's painted throughout their school is the wolf, the timber wolf. So, and that's where the name comes from. It comes from the wolf clan. So, Sq'ewqéyl, a lot of times students will guess that word. That's the name of the Coquihalla Highway. ala refers to a basket, and Quiquiala means stingy basket. So it's describing the river there, Quiquiala. So we didn't have maps in those days, and so you couldn't put in your GPS as to where you're going to go. And I can't imagine a time like that because I get lost pretty easy. But a lot of our names describe the territory. So that name told the fishermen, you know, don't pack up your family and travel up this way to this area to fish, because they described it as a stingy basket. Every time they speared a fish, they would lose the fish. So that's what Quiquiala means. So there's names all throughout our territory. There's Sq'ewqéyl, the name of our territory. There's Tselxát, the name of the mountain in our school there, and there's Quiquiala. And there's quite a few names all throughout the territory that originate from the Stalo language. Stalo in a language means river, yeah. And it's the name of our people here in this territory. Traditionally, we didn't have a word for hello in our language. If you travel out to Vancouver Island, I find they use the language a lot more there. And they'll often, when they greet you, they'll say, Ichuayot. And our translation of that is Lichuq'éya, Lichuq'éya. That means, how are you? That's how they greet you. However, over the years, our elders have put together words so that we could use them for different greetings, like hello. And Sq'ewqéyl is one of them. A in our language means good, and Sq'ewqéyl describes the first light of the day. So it means good day. And it's used quite a bit by our community today, Sq'ewqéyl. In our language, we also didn't have a word for goodbye. We didn't believe in saying goodbye. It was either see you or what my grandfather, Roy Point, said was Halq'eméylem, and that means take care. Now today, a word that we use is Quitslama, and that means see you. In the community now today, what's often used for thank you is Quisai. Quisai. And you'll see the speakers, they'll say Quisai, and they'll thank the people. What I've seen that translated is you're finished. What I think is the speakers might have been saying Quisai. That hand gesture means thank you, but they might have been telling the people their work is finished. But today, it's changed. We use it for thank you, Quisai. Yathu Quisai is a formal way to say thank you. But in our language, see it translates to thank. It's it. And if you say tsiit tama, then when you're speaking to somebody directly, you're saying thank you. So if somebody gave me something, I would say tsiit tama. That's a response to thank you. Tsiit tama. From my observation, Quisai is used as well in a community, but I feel like maybe more in a gathering. Tamyuk. My father's told me it's your great, I can't remember which generation, it's your great grandparent, yeah. The stories that I heard about the hand gesture was, what my father would tell me is the people traveled by canoe. And when the people would come up to a home, another family or another territory, they would sing a song. And it was letting the people know they were coming. And the people would know who was coming just by listening to that song. And they would send their girls down to sing, and they would sing the welcome song. And they'd put their hands out like that. So that also is a form of saying, you're welcome to land, you're welcome to our territory. But it's also a gesture a sign that our people use to say thank you, to thank the people. So my grandma, if we were at a gathering, she'd say, see it to people, go see it to people, thank them for coming. The different communities are returning to their traditional names. For example, there's the Sq'ewqéyl First Nation. It doesn't change that much. I think in English it's Sq'ewkale. The anglicized version. In our language we say Sq'ewqéyl, and that means around the bend. There's a river there, and it was around the bend. Chiacton was the anglicized version as well. In our language we say chiacto, and it describes the fishing weir that their people used. So in our language we say chiacto. Yakakuyus, in Halq'emeylem for Yakakuyus we say yakyakuyus, and it describes something burning. Lakakak is a Halq'emeylem word, and it was the name of the creek that ran along Vedder Road there. But in our language you'd say lachachak means to straddle with both legs. So they were saying that there was a log that laid across the Lachachak Creek that they used to cross it, but moss grew on the log, so it got slippery when it was wet. So oftentimes when you tried to cross, you would fall and straddle. But over time, they said it became known like, oh darn it, or an expression word. So I don't know. I always tell the kids, if you go to the mall, tell your parents to turn on the darn road. Siam. Siam in our language refers to like respected one. So it was our word that we used for chief, or sometimes it was, I see my uncles use it like for somebody that they respect or they care about. Say, hi chika, thank you Siam, or kusai, Siam. Siaya is our word for friend. I like to share with people is the Halq'emeylem app. So you can type and it shares 10 random words with you, and it has the elders recording with it. And so it's such a valuable resource, and I understand that they might be or they're working to implement more vocabulary from Sq'ewqéyl Nation there. And so it's a really great app. And when I first started teaching and traveling to the schools, you know, we'd go into the class and the kids would say, who are the Sq'ewqéyl people? Who they didn't, or I'd ask, have you heard of Halq'eméylem? Do you know any words in Halq'eméylem? And it would be silent. But now today we have staff that are asking, we have schools that are asking, and so yeah. Kusai. I hope I got that right. Thank you for looking at me.